So I originally wanted to compare these two phones months ago, and it just seemed like something else just always kept coming up. But now that the OnePlus 9 is just about to be released, I thought let's do a quick comparison of the OnePlus 8T, which is one of my favorite phones, versus the Pixel 4a 5G, and see which one is the better phone for you. I'll leave links in the description below with current pricing and more information. Currently, the Pixel 4a 5G is on sale for $450, normally $500, and the OnePlus 8T is on sale for $599, which is a really good price considering I paid full price of $750 when it was first launched. But again, this does make sense because they're getting ready to launch the OnePlus 9 on March 23rd. You get 128 gigabytes or 256 gigabytes with OnePlus, and unfortunately 128 gigabytes is the only option with the Pixel 4a 5G. So let's go ahead and get started. Now when it comes to which has the better battery, both phones are actually really good. The OnePlus 8T has a 4500 milliamp hour battery, and the Pixel 4a 5G has a 3800 milliamp hour battery. So just by those numbers alone, you think the OnePlus phone is gonna win pretty easily here. But no, I got 13 hours on the Pixel 4a 5G versus 11 hours on the OnePlus 8T. Again, both phones have really good battery life. Now you're not going to get wireless charging with either of these, but you do get super fast charging with Warp Charge 65 on the OnePlus 8T, and unfortunately you only get a measly 18 watt fast charging on the Pixel 4a 5G. So if you want the phone with better battery life, go with the Pixel. If you want the phone with really good battery life and super fast charging, then yeah, you gotta go with OnePlus. Now when it comes to the screen, you get a 6.2 inch OLED panel on the Pixel 4a 5G, and you get a 6.55 inch AMOLED on the OnePlus 8T. Both are 1080p resolution, although you can view 2K resolution on YouTube. I'm still not quite sure how that works. But you get slightly higher pixels per inch on the Pixel 4a 5G with 413 versus 403 on the OnePlus 8T. The screen's a little bit brighter on the OnePlus 8T, but both look really good in my opinion. Well, until you start to look at different angles, and then the OnePlus looks quite a bit better. I don't know what it is about the 4a 5G, but it's almost like it flickers when you look at different angles. Not to mention, you also get 120 Hz refresh rate on the OnePlus 8T, and yeah, it definitely feels a little bit smoother. But overall, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these two phones when it comes to the screen. Performance-wise, you get 8 gigabytes or 12 on the OnePlus 8T, but you only get 6 gigabytes of RAM on the Pixel 4a 5G. You also get a Snapdragon 865G on the OnePlus phone and Snapdragon 765G on the Pixel 4a 5G. So it sounds like the OnePlus 8T is quite a bit more powerful, but I gotta give it to Google. They're actually pretty good at performance. It still feels pretty snappy with these mid-range specs. And then when it comes to gaming, you get HD graphics and high frame rates on games like PUBG Mobile. And both phones are really good for gaming. Gameplay looks nice and smooth on Call of Duty Mobile and Asphalt 9 as well. Obviously, OnePlus will be a little more powerful and a little smoother overall, but the Pixel 4a 5G definitely holds its own when comparing it to the OnePlus 8T. When it comes to software, I think both of these phones are probably two of my favorite ways to do Android, although I feel OnePlus actually does Android a little bit better than Google. I know some of you won't agree with that, but it's like stock Android plus some extra customization. And once you get used to using the alert slider, every other phone feels a little bit awkward to me to hit buttons multiple times or search in the navigation shade to set the phone to vibrate. Both phones feel nice and snappy though as far as performance goes, and they both have Google News Feed when you swipe left on the home screen, which I actually use pretty often. The placement of the fingerprint scanner could also persuade you to choose one over the other. You've got the rear mounted fingerprint scanner on the Pixel 4a 5G. And yeah, I think it is a tad bit more accurate than OnePlus, but there's just something about having it on the front built into the screen, like on the OnePlus phone, where it just feels more natural to me. Both phones are currently on Android 11. OnePlus is a little bit behind on the security patch with January 1st, 2021, where the Pixel 4a 5G is on March 5th. Both companies are usually pretty good with updating software though, for a couple years at least, and fixing the little bugs that sometimes can happen, which is really good because most people don't realize that while it's nice to be the first to get updates, sometimes that means you're first to get those bugs or glitches that in my case made the Pixel 4a 5G almost unusable. There for a while after an update, I had to keep tapping on things at least twice to get the screen to recognize me hitting it. Luckily, it seems to be fixed now after another update, so I guess I can't be too upset about that anymore. But really, it's going to come down to personal preference on which software you like better. For me, I just prefer what OnePlus is doing a little bit better than Google. Now the speakers on these are really nice on both. You get a speaker by the earpiece and at the bottom of both phones. Let's face it, this is how it should be on all phones. They're both nice and loud, pretty well balanced too since they're on each side. Which one is louder? Good question actually. It's so close that I don't think you can go wrong with either. I feel OnePlus might be slightly louder, but it's definitely too close to call. I really think you're gonna like how both of these phones sound. Here's a quick sample of each just to see what you think. Everyone probably knows by now that it's pretty tough to beat what Google is doing when it comes to their portrait photos. But OnePlus has definitely seemed to improve their camera experience with each year, and I feel like they've definitely improved on this phone versus my OnePlus 7 Pro I had before this one. Nice thing is you get an ultra wide angle on both phones, 4K 60 frames per second on both phones as well. And even though OnePlus has higher resolution on the selfie camera, the Pixel still looks a little bit better. But Google is crazy good with their software on their cameras. I don't know, it just seems like magic the way they're able to do things. Having said that, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these phones when it comes to the cameras, but not to surprise anyone, Pixel just does it a little bit better. Here's some samples of each, just to give you an idea of what to expect. Now, one problem that I have had with the Pixel 4a 5G is sometimes it really struggles with orientation of the screen, and it's like it can't figure out which direction I want it to be in. It's really the only phone I've ever had where this is sort of a big issue, and I know my wife also complains about the same issue on her Pixel 3a XL, so maybe it's just a Pixel thing. And one thing that sort of tells the story when you have multiple phones is which phone do you find yourself using the most and which phone do you find yourself always going back to. Well, in this case for me, I keep going back to the OnePlus 8T and think, man, this phone's pretty good. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.